Good morning. Feeling the full force of Francis. The hurricane finally makes landfall in Florida and is currently pounding the Sunshine State with 95-mile-per-hour winds and lots of rain. Today's Sunday, September 5th, 2004.
From NBC News, this is Today, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
Welcome to Today on this Sunday morning. I'm Campbell Brown.
And I'm Lester Holt. What a night it was in Florida. The storm now rated a Category 1 within the last hour or so. It hit land, at least the eye hit land early this morning about 1 a.m. Eastern time near Stuart, Florida. Francis has now moved about halfway over the state. People there have yet, though, to experience the backside of the hurricane, so another wallop is on the way.
And that means a lot of rain. Forecasters say the storm could dump as much as 20 inches of rain on some parts of the state over the next few days, and that has sparked fears of massive flooding. We're going to take you live to locations all along Florida's east coast to show you the conditions there, and we'll get the latest on the storm's path in just a moment.
And then we're going to talk to FEMA Director Mike Brown about where it appears help is needed most at this hour and what his agency's relief strategy is. We'll also give you a unique view of Francis. We'll take you aboard an airplane and inside the eye of the hurricane.
But first, let's begin with the very latest information. So far, some 2 million people in Florida are without power. 86,000 are riding out the storm in shelters. And President Bush has declared counties in the state affected by Francis major disaster areas, meaning residents will be eligible for federal aid. Our correspondents are stationed all along the east coast of Florida tracking the hurricane. Al Roker is in West Palm Beach. Martin Savage is in Melbourne. And Brian Williams and Robert Hager are both in Vero Beach. Bob, let's begin with you.
Campbell, you can see what's going on here. We're on the backside of this storm. When it came ashore, as you said, it was about 15 miles down that way with winds of 105 miles an hour. Now it's dropped off to 95. And around here, I'd say it's about 80, something like that, maybe 70. It comes and it goes. But the surprising thing is the duration of it, how we had winds like this all night. And talk about the large eye. We never experienced the large eye here. Just these pounding winds all night long. When it came ashore, the storm surge is reported to have been at the coast, which is about a half mile in that direction, about 6 feet. And then we're getting about 8 inches of rain locally in some places so far, and that could go a lot higher. So there are tornado warnings and there are flood warnings as well. Let me show you a little about the history of this long storm now. It began with squalls, the broad hurricane's outermost storm bands, first notice of what was to come, gathering strength all through the long day. Wind and drenching rain, damage spread. A roof off a trailer, boats torn from moorings or swamped. Trees came down. Power transformers exploded. Electric lines snapped, cutting off service to millions. Hour after hour, the waves pounded the coastline, sea level rising higher and higher from the surge, and the wind driving against the coastline, picking up grains of sand, stinging the skin. But fortunately, much of the coast was deserted through all this, after the biggest evacuation ever in Florida's history. And then, in the dark of night, the most punishing winds,
You take care out there, Bob. That's NBC's Bob Hager in Vero Beach this morning. Al Roker has been watching Francis all weekend long in West Palm Beach. Al, what's it like there this morning?
Well, very much what Bob's experiencing right now, Campbell. 90-mile-per-hour winds, driving rain. This is the backside wall of Hurricane Francis. As you take a look, basically, the eye of Francis just passing Lake Okeechobee. Winds 95 mile per hour. It's a Category 1 storm. It's moving to the west-northwest now, picking up speed about 8 to 9 miles per hour. And the big thing right now, path of this storm, it's going to take a while still to move through, but as it comes over land, the good news is it's starting to lose its power source, which is the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It cuts across the panhandle of Florida and then moves up into the mainland and on and starts to lose strength. Now, the one thing, as Bob mentioned, we're looking at rain. Anywhere from 8 to about 12 inches of rain's fallen so far, and we're here in West Palm Beach. Before it's all over, about 20 inches of rain. Add that to what Charlie dumped and very heavy rain this spring and summer, and flooding, obviously, a big problem. And with a landfall of a hurricane, tornadoes a big problem. Tornado watches and warnings warnings stretching central Florida, northern Florida, on into Georgia, and as it moves further up, those watches will most likely be extended. Even though this is a Category 1 storm, a lot of buildings here are built to withstand a 4. Our local NBC affiliate WPTV has taken major damage. They're a brand new building, only 3 years old, and now they have had to start thinking about evacuating their building. But on the lighter side, the hospital here in West Palm Beach took in 100 expectant mothers. So far, more than a dozen children have been born, and we've been told not one has been named Francis. Campbell?
Al, thank you. A little bit of good news there. That's Al Roker in West Palm Beach this morning. And now here's Lester.
All right, Campbell, thank you. Let's move northward to Melbourne. NBC's Martin Savage. Martin, what was it like there as the eye came ashore?
Morning to you, Lester. It was a very rough night here. Wind speed still said to be around 85, pushing up to 90 miles an hour. As you know, a lot of people did evacuate, but there are still those hardcores who never want to abandon their homes, even if their homes happen to be boats on the water. We spent the night last night at a local marina where the living was anything but easy.
Long after most ran away from the storm, these two guys are running into it. As Hurricane Francis nears, it's all hands on deck at the Waterline Marina.
Hang on that ladder.
That's Steve, the owner, holding the ladder,
I got the ladder, don't worry about it.
while Bob tries to keep the roof from coming off.
Come on, baby, come on.
All told, they are 4 foolhardy men,
Tie that off.
though some of us might just drop the hardy part.
Come on.
As tied to the water as the boats they watch over. In good times, they live on their boats, and in bad times, they won't abandon them. Even if the one in trouble is not their own.
This is something you definitely don't want to try at home. Caretaking on $1 million yacht, trying to keep it safe for the owner is who knows where.
Francis turns the marina's 102 sailboats and cruisers into a restless herd that strains to break free. That's a 50-ton yacht they're wrestling with. After dark, it becomes too dangerous to rescue any boats that might break free.
In 100-mile-an-hour winds, we couldn't walk out there without getting in the water, so nothing you could do. Absolutely nothing.
Still, Hank goes in search of one more boat in the storm, his own, with a name that seems a bit uncertain. Total Joy.
The good news is, as of first light this morning, it looked like almost all of the vessels had survived the night. However, as we know, this storm is no sprint, it's a marathon. So there's a long, long way to go. Lester?
Martin Savage, thanks very much. Hang in there. Let's return now to Vero Beach, where NBC's Brian Williams is this morning. Brian, good morning to you.
Lester, good morning. And in many ways, this is the height of the damage to Vero Beach, the height of the energy at least, because the cruelty of the storm is we went to sleep and this storm was at our faces. Now we're awake in the morning and it's coming in at our backs. We're getting that southern hook as it now goes up across the mainland. This is that last sharp turn the storm will make. And a lot of things that have not been hit at this angle are now being hit. And every so often you can hear the crash of fresh damage. As Robert Hager reported, still way too early to get out and do any damage assessments. No vehicles allowed. The curfew is still in effect. But the height of the winds now as the storm comes up and makes that southern hook, a very cruel and violent change in wind direction as Francis makes its way across Florida, beginning right here in Vero Beach overnight. Lester?
All right, NBC's Brian Williams in Vero Beach, Florida. Brian, thanks very much. And, of course, this could be a big weather maker, as we've been hearing, for the rest of the country in the days to come. And Sean McLaughlin is here to tell more about
Showers and flooding all the way up north to the Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee Valley areas by Thursday in through Friday of this upcoming work week. Let's talk about wind forecast. We talked about the storm flooding and things like that, but this wind forecast is just absolutely brutal. We went from this morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, all the way in through tomorrow morning for the next 18 hours. What I want you to take from this map is look at the orange and the red. That represents wind speeds in excess of hurricane force, 74 miles an hour or greater, or in the orange, 96 miles an hour. You can see Jacksonville and Tampa not just for a couple of hours, but for 18 hours. We'll see wind gusts throughout the night and through tomorrow morning. Now, let's take a look at your national forecast for this Labor Day holiday. Severe storms possible in through the southern Great Lakes, down in through Kansas, and in the next half hour. Lester, back to you.
All right, Scene, thanks very much. Mike Brown is the director of the